It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Health in the Real World podcast. We're here today with Dave Glaser. Dave, how's it going today?
Things are fantastic, man. How about you?
Awesome. Very good. Very good. I appreciate you being on today with me. And it sounds like you and I are very similar as far as our goals, what we're doing with people. I say the same thing that you do. You know, I help people get fit without going to the gym. We're doing all Zoom workouts. How do you approach fitness, health in general with your clients?
We start with 7 healthy habits that we want to ingrain within our clients' everyday lives. You know, like make time for exercise, drink plenty of water, get plenty of rest, choose exercise-specific goals, make time for meal prep. You know, the basics.
This is awesome. That's usually my first question is what do you tell somebody who's just getting started? Let's say okay, you have 7. What's the number 1? What's like the most important thing? You're like, all right, do this before you do anything else. What do you think in your mind?
Make time for yourself. You got to be a priority. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to accomplish any goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Time's the one equalizer, right? Everybody, the biggest billionaire all the way down to the least successful among us has 24 hours in a day. So that's kind of the great equalizer, right? So actually, how long have you been doing this, Dave?
Coming up on 10 years in January.
Nice. Happy anniversary. That's awesome.
Thank you. It's a big one.
Apparently
you become an expert after 10 years, but I haven't felt that yet.
It's
always
crazy.
Learning.
It's crazy how there's always something to learn, right? And then there's always somebody at a party who's going to pick your brain and ask you everything you know. And yet at the same time, I know there's always I always want to learn more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you tell that client who maybe has gone with you for a while, maybe they've achieved some good results, and they just fall off the wagon? They've lost their mojo, they lost their motivation. What do you tell that person?
There's a few strategies that we can do. The first from my side is I've got to love them where they're at. You know, we all go through seasons and phases in our lives. Jiu-jitsu is my passion, and there's very, very few times that you can go 4 or 5 years straight, very consistent with a sport like that. So I put myself in their shoes, and I understand that maybe I need to back it off to 2 or 3 days a week instead of 5, or maybe I need to take 2 months off because I've just been pushing it too hard. I just finished a competition and maybe I got a little hip injury, you know? So I meet my clients where they're at, and then also just the door is always open.
Yeah.
You know, if that's not the right fit for them, then let's find you a training partner who's going to help inspire you. You know, maybe somebody who looks up to you, or maybe you look up to them.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that answer. I think that's great. No guilt, no shame. You know, we are where we are, and we all go through it. And actually, that's a great segue to the next question. I think this is really valuable for people who are watching this, maybe who are not healthy, not fit, really want to be, and see personal trainers as sort of like the unreachable pinnacle, which, you know, we just said, like, you know, we're still learning. I've been doing this 15, 16 years, and I still feel like I'm uncovering stuff. So where do you personally struggle with your health and fitness, and what strategies have you used to sort of overcome that struggle?
Mm-hmm. There's been a couple of different struggles in my life. Like sugar back in the day was like a weakness for me. So I started to back off on ice cream when I recognized how irritable and anxious it made me. So I started finding things I could replace it with. You know, no longer ice cream every night. Ben & Jerry's was just my treat. And then maybe try like a Reese's peanut butter mini cup or something like that. And now if I want a treat, I go for the chocolate covered almonds. That's a dark chocolate, not a milk chocolate.
Nice. That's great. So you progressively sort of weaned yourself off the the ice cream, and then you get, the smaller dessert, and then the more healthy dessert. That's good.
That's right. And I'm not going to beat myself up about the chocolate covered almonds because I have fewer of those than anything else, and
Yeah.
I satiate my craving.
Yeah. And almonds, you're getting the healthy fat, a little bit of protein. And so your body's like, well, I'm good. We don't need
Hmm.
any more of this, right?
That's right.
Versus the analogy I always use is like, almost everybody I know, even the person with like the small appetite, can still finish one of those big movie theater tubs of popcorn. Those,
Hmm. Yeah.
remember, I almost forgot what a movie theater is now. I haven't been to one in a while. But, they give you like this huge thing, right? And then they say, oh, and you get free refills, right?
Hmm.
So, you're done with the whole tub by the time the previews are over, and then you're back to get a refill. And literally, it's like it just goes right through you. And almost everybody I know could probably finish a couple of those versus like you're saying, the healthy, you got almonds and you have the dark chocolate providing that satiety, versus just the volume of food, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I trick myself a little bit more, and I put the almonds in the freezer. So when I go for that snack, they're cold like ice cream used to be, and I'm almost like fooling myself into taking a better step forward.
I like that. I'm going to use that. So frozen chocolate, milk chocolate almonds, or
Dark
dark
chocolate,
chocolate,
yeah,
dark
yeah,
chocolate.
because I want to stay away from dairy and gluten as much as I possibly can as well. We're all human, Chris, and I used to like a healthy IPA, like a bold, flavorful,
Yeah.
hoppy, double hopped IPA. And I started to understand that like it wasn't so much the volume of alcohol, it was simply just that routine in my life that was kind of getting in the way of my personal and professional goals. I couldn't go to jujitsu the next morning, like a Saturday morning, after just one or two of my favorite IPAs the night before. So when I started to realize that like I had further to go in my life, I started to swap out maybe the first IPA I was craving with a La Croix or like a soda water. I would still get that bubbly texture on my tongue, and I would still get participation in whatever social event that I was in. I simply just pushed back my first beer of the night to my second drink. And that was
Right.
another replacement behavior that I found helped me decrease calories for one,
Yeah.
empty calories for two. And then shoot, I sleep better without the alcohol in my system. So,
Absolutely.
I'll go periodically, like months at a time without alcohol and, start to feel really good
Yeah.
and start to reach my professional and personal goals that way.
That's great. Yeah. I went through, let's see, from probably when I was 24 to maybe 32, like a good 8 years with nothing, no alcohol. And it started out, my wife and I, she was my fiance at the time, where we just like, let's just not drink for a while, maybe a month or two. And then you just forget, right? You just
Mm-hmm.
forget. So, yeah, absolutely. So Dave, I want to go a little bigger picture now.
Okay, cool.
If let's say a university has invited you to give the commencement talk, all these college graduates, and here's a bunch of young adults, 21, 22 years old, who are about to start their adult life, what kind of big picture advice would you give them? What kind of strategies, how to set goals, different values and things like that have really worked for you? What kind of things would you tell them?
That is a big question, man.
This
And
is this is your motivational speech.
I get the opportunity to go back to my alma mater and actually speak to their exercise science students every semester. So the one thing that I want to encourage them to do is pursue their passion. And if they choose to do it for themselves as an entrepreneur, that their business is a vehicle. It's a vehicle to get them to wherever they want to go in their life to follow their purpose. And they can drive as slowly or as quickly as they would like to go in that vehicle. But I want to remind them that they are always in the driver's seat. They're the one in control of the path that you take, which highway, which side street, what speed at which you go towards that goal. But I started to understand in my own life that like if I was going to continue to work for other people, I would never reach that milestone or reach that life legacy, that purpose of sharing the benefits of fitness and nutrition for mental health if I were doing it for someone else. And so when I talk to those students at Metro State, I talk to them about how I started my business, because that's my specialty is starting a business. And then it's almost like cruise control after a couple of years. But I share how I started my journey, and it has ups and downs, like peaks and valleys and switchbacks and winding roads. And I love the analogy of driving my vehicle as quickly or as slowly as I want to go to reach that goal, that pinnacle goal.
There's freedom behind the wheel, right? You can take the back roads and go a little slower and kind of enjoy the scenery as you're going, or you can get from point A to point B and no time flat, right? And just work your butt off.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, Dave, let us know what's your website? How can people get a hold of you?
The best place for people to reach out is daveglaser.com. My last name is spelled Glaser, daveglaser.com. And it has a link to a podcast that I wish to invite you on at some point. And they can learn more about my fitness business, my passion for helping people build stronger relationships within their family and with new romantic partners in the future through another side project that I do. And I'm passionate about mental health advocacy, and that's probably the best place to connect.
That's great. Well, Dave Glaser, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I know it's a little abbreviated, but I'd love to have you on again in the future. So definitely thank you, Dave.
Appreciate it. Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.